Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. Welcome to Ask Margaret from What Fresh Hell, laughing in the face of motherhood, solving your parenting dilemmas one question at a time. Today's question comes from Sheila on our Facebook page, and she says, how do I talk about discipline with the nanny caregiver? I like this question because I think this is something we have never talked about on the podcast, which is interesting because I feel like sometimes we've talked about everything on the podcast, but Amy and I's kids are also older, so they're in school full time. So while we might have babysitters and people kind of helping out with pickup here and there, this isn't something that is a huge part of our life, but it's important when you're dealing with younger kids who you have someone else taking care of for you some part of the time. And I think the simplest answer to this is you talk about it clearly, you talk about it often, and as much as possible, you talk about it in writing. And so your job to start off is to be very, very clear on what your expectations are. If you are a solo parent, I would make a list of what is important to you, and then stealing from Epic Danger, who we've quoted a lot, I would give each of those things a number of importance. My kid will never watch screens. That's a 10 for me. My kids should eat healthy food. That's like a 7 for me. I want it to happen almost all the time. My kids have sunscreen on when they're out in the sun. That's a 10. Wear seatbelts. That's probably a 10. But then you get into a lot of things of, I want the caregiver to be actively playing with them at all times. I would give that like a 4. Do you actively play with your kid all the time? I don't think so. And so I get that that person is doing it as a job and should maybe even do it more than you do, but you want to build in some flexibility so that you have a really successful relationship with the person who is caring for your kids. And you want to, as we say often on the podcast, work from your place of maximum generosity. So with an understanding that like you are not actually hiring like Mary Poppins floating down from the sky who is going to like magically make every moment of your kid's existence magical. And by the way, that's not even a good expectation because that's not real life. And also, by the way, the parents didn't like Mary Poppins, if you remember the story. So I think you want to hire and work with people who you find competent, and then give them your absolutes, give them your list of things that are pretty important to you, give them your lists on things you have leeway around. The clearer you are in this conversation, the more successful this will be. I looked up an article when I was researching this from verywellfamily.com, which is entitled, How to Work with a Nanny to Address Child Behavior Problems. It's pretty much exactly what you're asking, so I will put a link in the show notes because you might just want to read this article and solve all your problems. And what was most interesting to me here is talking about asking questions when you are engaging a caregiver. And they have a list of questions. I'll list a couple of them, but they're great. Tell me about a time you had to discipline a child. What happened and what corrective action did you take? Tell me about a time a child did not follow your instructions. How did you handle it? So you're having conversations because my child is studying coding right now, and it reminds me of this because it's all if then. If is the variable and then is the outcome. I think a lot of times as parents, we want to control things. and make sure that they come out exactly the way we want. And we kind of approach it as if we are a computer doing if-then variables, where if this, then that. And the reality is, if you have a caregiver who is with your child several hours a day, there is no way to anticipate every single variable that will come up. So you want to engage someone who you trust their basic decision making, because it's hard. This is something we're used to controlling it, and we have to cede some of this control to the caregiver. And so I think the clearer you can be going in about what your expectations are, the clearer you are about deal breakers, the clearer you are about things that have some leeway and have more leeway than you think you probably need, because you want this caregiver and your kids to be having fun most of the day. You don't want the caregiver to be holding a sheet and being like, your mom said if this, then that. But you also want things to turn out the way that you approve of. And so my overall recommendation is be really, really clear on what things are most important to you. Share those things early and often. Ask good questions at an interview with a caregiver. And then if things come off track, it's fine. You sit back down and you say, I want to review some stuff. I want to see how it's going. How's it going for you? Here's how it's going for me. I want to reiterate these issues that are really, really important to me and make sure that those things are not happening. And then get some feedback like, how are you having trouble here? Is there anything in my kid's behavior that we can help reinforce for you? This should fundamentally be as collaborative an effort as possible in order for it to be most successful. And then as problems arise, you sit down and you revisit those and realize that there may be times when this backslides. There may be times where you say, you may be saying things like, listen, during potty training, we got to double down. We got to make sure we're on the same page with this exact system. And, you back me up and I'll back you up and together we'll get him there. I think that kind of approach is always, always the most successful. And check out this article on Very Well Family. I think it's got a lot of really down-to-earth practical tips. And just like, as we say about raising our kids, firmer rules and clearer guidelines makes everybody happier in this situation. Sheila, I hope that helps. And if you have a question for myself or Amy, you can send them to questions@whatfreshhellpodcast.com or ask them on our Facebook page. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Close your eyes. Focus. Listen to work getting done with Monday.com. Relax as AI does the manual work, while your teams are aligned on a single source of truth. Feel the sensation of an AI work platform, so flexible and intuitive, it feels like it was built just for you. Notice you're limitless. Now open your eyes, go to Monday.com, start for free, and finally, breathe.